On a cold, rainy winter night, at a deserted suburban train station lit only by flickering lamps, a powerful billionaire CEO sits alone on a bench, isolated, untouchable, his heart long hardened by loss. Suddenly, two tiny 5-year-old girls in worn coats approach him through the downpour, clutching each other's hands, their green eyes wide with innocent courage. The bolder one tugs at his sleeve and whispers the words that will shatter his world forever. "Our daddy is in heaven. Can you help our sick mom?" In that single heartbreaking moment, a chance encounter begins that will melt the ice around a lonely billionaire's heart, heal a struggling mother's deepest wounds, and prove that sometimes the smallest voices can change everything. The rain falls steadily outside the dimly lit train station on the outskirts of New York, turning the cold winter evening into a shimmering veil of gray. Puddles gather on the platform, reflecting the flickering lights from the overhead lamps, and the air carries the sharp scent of wet concrete and distant thunder. It's late, far past the hour when families should be tucked away at home, but delays have stranded a handful of weary travelers, their faces illuminated by the glow of cell phones and the occasional flash of headlights from passing cars. Jackson Carter sits alone on a weathered bench, his broad shoulders hunched slightly against the chill seeping through his overcoat. At 35, he's the unyielding CEO of Carter Global Industries, a billionaire whose empire spans continents. Tall and commanding, with piercing blue eyes that seem to cut through the darkness and a jawline sharp enough to slice through any negotiation, he's built his life on control and isolation. His parents were taken from him in a tragic car accident when he was just a teenager, leaving him and his younger brother, Ethan, to fend for themselves. But Ethan, the softer-hearted of the two, had passed away 6 years ago in a separate incident, a loss that hardened Jackson even further. Love, in his world, is a liability, a fleeting transaction not worth the risk. Tonight, he's here incognito, having dismissed his security detail after a discreet site visit to a promising startup in this quiet town. Dressed down in a simple wool coat over his tailored suit, he scrolls through emails on his phone, the rain pattering against the station's tin roof like a persistent reminder of his solitude. Across the platform, in the shadow of a rusted overhang, Chloe Reynolds huddles with her two 5-year-old daughters, Mia and Lily. The identical twins, with their curly auburn hair peeking out from under hooded coats and wide green eyes mirroring their mothers, cling to her sides, their small hands buried in the folds of her worn jacket. Chloe, 28 and fragile from the weight of her world, fights back a shiver as her autoimmune disease flares in the damp cold, a rare condition that's been draining her strength and her savings for months. 2 years, no, wait, it must have been longer. The crash that took her husband, Mark, happened 6 years ago, just as she learned she was pregnant with the twins. Mark, her kind-hearted mechanic, had been her anchor, but his sudden death in that fateful car accident left her alone, buried under medical bills and grief. Now, working double shifts as a waitress, she barely keeps the roof over their heads in their cramped apartment. Desperate for affordable treatment, she sold her last pieces of jewelry to fund this trip to a specialized clinic in the neighboring state. But the train delay has stretched into hours, and Chloe's fever rises, her body aching as she whispers reassurances to the girls. "It won't be long now, my loves. Just a little while longer." Mia and Lily, wise beyond their years yet innocent in their trust, fidget on the bench, their little boots splashing in a shallow puddle. They whisper to each other, their voices a soft melody against the rain's drumbeat. To them, the world is still a place of storybook wonders, where princes hide in plain sight. Their eyes land on Jackson, sitting apart, his posture straight and his coat looking far too fine for this forgotten station. He seems strong, important, like the heroes in the bedtime tales their mother reads. Clutching each other's hands, the twins exchange a determined glance. Before Chloe can stop them, they slip away, toddling across the wet platform toward him. Mia, the bolder of the two, tugs at Jackson's sleeve first, her voice small but clear amid the rain. "Mister, our daddy is in heaven.
Our
He's
daddy
watching
is in
over
heaven.
us, but Mommy's
Can
really
you help
sick.
our sick mum?
Can you help our sick mom?" Lily nods vigorously, her green eyes wide and pleading. "She needs to get better. Please." Jackson looks up from his phone, stunned into silence. In his world of boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, no one approaches him like this, no raw, unfiltered plea for help. His blue eyes meet the twins' gaze, and something stirs in his chest, a crack in the armor he's worn for so long. He glances past them to Chloe, who hurries over, her face pale and flushed with embarrassment and exhaustion. "I'm so sorry," Chloe says breathlessly, gathering the girls close. "They didn't mean to bother you. It's been a long night." But Jackson waves off her apology, his voice steady yet softened. "No bother at all. Are you all right? You look like you could use some warmth." The rain intensifies, drumming harder on the roof, as if urging a decision. Jackson stands, towering yet gentle, and offers his overcoat. "Here, take this. And let me call for a car, my driver isn't far. You shouldn't be out in this weather." Chloe hesitates, her dignity holding her back, but the girls' hopeful faces sway her. As they wait under the shelter, the first threads of an unexpected connection begin to weave, the rain washing away the barriers of their separate worlds. The sleek black SUV glides through the rain-slicked streets, windshield wipers sweeping in a steady rhythm that matches the quiet tension inside. Jackson sits in the back with Chloe and the twins, the warm leather seats and faint scent of cedar from the car's interior a stark contrast to the cold station they left behind. Mia and Lily, exhausted from the long wait, lean against their mother, their eyelids heavy as the city lights blur past the tinted windows. Chloe stares out at the passing rain, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, grateful yet guarded, still unsure why this stranger has gone so far out of his way. Jackson gives the driver instructions to take them wherever they need to go, then turns to Chloe with a quiet gentleness she hasn't encountered in years. "The clinic you mentioned, it's in Albany, right? That's hours away in this weather. You can't travel tonight, not like this." His voice is low, authoritative, but there's no demand in it, only concern. Chloe shakes her head softly. "We'll manage. We always do. I just need to get them home and rest before tomorrow's consultation." He nods, then makes a quick call. Minutes later, he tells her that rooms have been arranged at a nearby hotel, quiet, comfortable, no questions asked. Chloe starts to protest, her pride flaring, but the way Mia murmurs, "Thank you, mister," in her sleep, and Lily's small hand reaching out to touch the soft blanket Jackson draped over them, silences her objections. She simply whispers, "Thank you. Truly." Over the next few days, Jackson finds himself checking in, first under the guise of ensuring they made it to the clinic safely, then because he genuinely wants to know. He arranges for a trusted driver to take them to appointments, covers the consultation fees anonymously through a foundation, and sends quiet deliveries, warm meals, children's books, a thick winter coat for Chloe that arrives without a note. He tells himself it's nothing more than decency, a rare impulse to help someone who asked for nothing. But the twins remember him. Every time Chloe's phone buzzes with an update from the driver or a new delivery arrives, Mia and Lily ask, "Is it from the kind man at the station?" Chloe smiles faintly and says, "It seems so." A week later, on a gray afternoon when the rain has softened to a gentle mist, Chloe returns home from a follow-up appointment with better news than expected. The treatment plan is workable, manageable with consistent care. Relief floods her, and in that moment of quiet gratitude, she decides to find a way to thank him properly. Through careful questions to the driver, she learns his name, Jackson Carter. The name rings a distant bell, but she can't place it. That same evening, Jackson is in his penthouse office overlooking Manhattan, the city glittering below like scattered diamonds against wet glass. An envelope sits unopened on his desk, one he received from his late brother Ethan's belongings years ago, meant to be opened only when the time feels right. Ethan, softer than Jackson, had spent his last years quietly volunteering, giving away much of his trust fund to causes and people no one knew about. Jackson had never had the heart to go through most of it. Tonight, something pulls him to it. He slices the envelope open. Inside is a leather-bound journal and a single letter addressed to him. He begins reading Ethan's familiar handwriting. Pages describe the months before Ethan's sudden heart failure 6 years ago, how he'd spent time at a women's shelter downtown, helping with repairs, reading to children, listening to stories of loss and resilience. One entry, dated just weeks before he passed, stands out. There's a woman here named Chloe Reynolds. She just lost her husband in a car accident, Mark. She's pregnant with twins, terrified, but refuses to break. I've never seen such quiet strength. She won't accept much, only what she truly needs. I helped with some medical bills through the foundation, no name attached. If anything ever happens to me, Jackson, look out for people like her. They're the reason the world keeps turning. Jackson's breath catches. A photo slips from the journal, grainy, taken discreetly at the shelter's holiday event. There she is, Chloe, heavily pregnant, smiling tiredly as she holds a cup of cocoa, Ethan beside her handing out gifts to children. She's younger, eyes shadowed with fresh grief, but unmistakable. The rain begins again outside his window, tapping insistently against the glass. Jackson sits in silence for a long time, the journal open on his lap. The next day, he asks Chloe if she'd meet him for coffee, neutral ground, a quiet cafe near her apartment. She agrees, curious and cautious, bringing the twins because childcare fell through. When they arrive, Mia and Lily spot him immediately and run to him with delighted cries of, "It's you." He kneels, surprised by how naturally they hug him, how right it feels. Over steaming mugs, with the girls coloring quietly at the table's edge, Jackson speaks first. "I owe you an explanation," he says, voice low. He slides the photo across the table, the one from Ethan's journal. Chloe stares at it, recognition dawning slowly. I remember him. He was so kind. He fixed the shelter's heater one winter, read stories to the kids. He never told me his name, just said he was passing through. Her eyes fill. He helped with some of Mark's final hospital bills. I never knew how to thank him. Jackson swallows. That was my brother, Ethan. He died a few months after that photo was taken. He left me this journal, and your name in it. Chloe looks at him, tears brimming but not falling. I'm so sorry. You lost him too. He nods, the words difficult. I blamed myself for years. I was supposed to meet him that day, but I was in a board meeting. If I'd been there, his voice trails off. Chloe reaches across the table, her hand resting lightly on his. You couldn't have known. And from what he wrote, he adored you. He said you carried the weight of the world so the rest of us didn't have to. The rain patters against the cafe windows as they sit in silence, two people bound by shared loss, by a brother's quiet goodness that reached across years. Mia looks up from her drawing, a stick figure family holding hands under a rainbow, and slides it toward Jackson. This is us now, she says simply. You, me, Lily, and Mommy. Jackson's throat tightens. For the first time in years, the rain outside doesn't feel like grief. It feels like something washing clean. Weeks slip by, and the rain becomes a quiet companion to their growing connection, sometimes a soft drizzle during afternoon walks in the park, sometimes a fierce downpour that drives them indoors to share hot chocolate and stories. Jackson finds himself carving out time he never knew he had, weekends with the twins at the zoo, quiet dinners in Chloe's small apartment where the girls insist he read their favorite bedtime tales. He is careful, never pushing, always respecting the boundaries Chloe holds with gentle firmness. She accepts his help with medical bills and treatments now, but only because the doctors insist it's the best path forward, not out of charity, she says, but because Mia and Lily deserve a healthy mother. Still, the world outside their fragile bubble refuses to stay gentle. One bitter December morning, as the first hints of holiday lights twinkle along the city streets, Chloe arrives at the diner where she still works part-time shifts to maintain some independence. Her manager, a man hardened by years of tight margins, calls her into the back office. A customer from the night before has accused her of shortchanging him, $50 missing from his bill. Security footage is grainy, inconclusive, but the manager sides with the regular patron. "I can't have this kind of doubt hanging over the place," he says flatly. "You're suspended until we sort it out. Might be permanent." Chloe stands there, stunned, the words landing like cold rain on bare skin. She needs this job, the health insurance, the small but steady paycheck that lets her contribute to their life. Pride stings as sharply as fear. She walks home through freezing sleet, coat pulled tight, rehearsing how she'll explain to the girls that Christmas gifts might be even smaller this year. That same afternoon, her body betrays her again. The autoimmune flare hits without warning, joint swelling, fever spiking, exhaustion so deep she can barely climb the stairs to their apartment. She collapses onto the couch just as the twins return from kindergarten, their cheeks rosy from the playground. Mia notices first. "Mommy, you're shaking." Lily presses a small hand to Chloe's forehead. "You're really hot. Like when you were sick before." Chloe tries to smile, to reassure them, but the room tilts. She manages to text the neighbor who sometimes watches the girls, but the woman is out of town. Panic flickers beneath her calm exterior, she cannot leave them alone, not even for an hour. In desperation, she calls Jackson. Not for rescue, she tells herself, just for advice. But her voice cracks on the phone, and he hears everything she doesn't say. "I'm 10 minutes away," he says simply. "Stay put." He arrives with quiet urgency, rain dripping from his coat as he kneels beside the couch. The twins hover nearby, wide-eyed and worried. Jackson feels the old helplessness rise, the same powerlessness he felt when Ethan slipped away despite every specialist money could buy. But this time, he refuses to stand idle. He carries Chloe to the car as gently as if she were made of glass, the girls tucked safely in the back seat clutching their stuffed animals. At the private clinic he's quietly arranged for her care, the doctors adjust her treatment immediately, new medication, for fluids, rest in a warm, quiet room overlooking the city. Jackson stays in the hallway, answering work emails on his phone but never straying far. While Chloe sleeps, the next trial comes in the form of a frightened 5-year-old. Lily wakes from a nap in the clinic's family lounge, disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. Jackson is stepping out to take a call when she wanders down the corridor looking for her mother, small socks silent on the polished floor. By the time he returns, Mia is in tears. Lily's gone. She was right here and now she's not. Jackson's heart seizes. The clinic is secure, but the thought of one of those little girls lost, even for minutes, is unbearable. He alerts staff calmly, then takes Mia's hand and begins a methodical search, every waiting room, every quiet corner. Rain lashes the windows as they move through the building. He finds Lily at last in a small chapel-like room on the top floor, drawn by the soft glow of colored light from a stained glass window. She sits on a bench, hugging her knees, staring at the patterns of blue and red dancing across the floor. "I got scared," she whispers when he kneels beside her. "I thought Mommy was really bad sick this time. Like Daddy." Jackson gathers her into his arms without thinking, the way he once wished someone had held him after his parents' accident, after Ethan. "Your mommy is strong," he says, voice steady despite the ache in his chest. "And she's getting the help she needs. You're not alone, Lily. None of you are." He feels her small body relax against him, her tears soaking into his shirt. In that moment, holding her as the rain drums against the roof, he understands something profound. This isn't obligation. This isn't repayment to a brother long gone. This is choice. This is family taking root where he least expected it. Behind the scenes, Jackson moves quietly. A discreet inquiry reveals the diner accusation was baseless. The aggrieved customer has a history of similar complaints at other establishments. Jackson doesn't threaten or buy influence, he simply ensures the truth reaches the owner through proper channels. 2 days later, Chloe receives a call, full apology, back pay for missed shifts, and a promise of flexible hours when she's ready to return. She never asks how it happened. She only looks at Jackson across the hospital room, eyes soft with understanding and something deeper, gratitude laced with affection that no longer feels borrowed. As Chloe grows stronger and prepares to go home, the city outside prepares for Christmas. Lights twinkle along the avenues, and the rain has eased into a gentle mist that catches the glow like scattered stars. Jackson stands at the window, watching the twins decorate a tiny paper tree they've made for their mother's bedside table. He knows the next step will be the hardest, not fixing problems from afar, but stepping fully into the light. Into their lives. Into vulnerability. But for the first time, the thought doesn't terrify him. It feels like coming home. Christmas Eve settles over New York like a soft blanket, the city glowing with millions of tiny lights that turn the lingering mist into a golden haze. The rain has paused for once, as if holding its breath for something sacred. High above the streets, on the private rooftop terrace of Jackson's penthouse, a towering evergreen stands adorned in simple white lights and delicate glass ornaments, no flashy excess, just quiet beauty. Jackson has invited Chloe and the twins here tonight, not as a grand gesture, but as a gentle one, a place to watch the annual tree lighting in the square far below, away from crowds, with cocoa and blankets and space to breathe. The girls are mesmerized. Mia and Lily press their noses to the glass railing, eyes wide as the distant tree bursts into color, the crowd's cheers a faint murmur carried on the wind. Chloe stands beside them, wrapped in a warm shawl, her health steadily improving with each treatment. She looks up at the stars peeking through parting clouds and feels something she hasn't in years, peace. Jackson watches them from a few steps away, hands in his coat pockets, heart fuller than he ever thought possible. Over the past weeks he has wrestled silently with a question he never expected to ask himself: what does he truly want, not for his company, not for his legacy, but for his life? The answer has become clearer every time Lily reaches for his hand without thinking, every time Mia falls asleep on his shoulder during a movie, every time Chloe looks at him with eyes that see past the billionaire to the man who is still learning how to feel again. Earlier that day, alone in his study, he finally opened the last sealed envelope from Ethan's belongings, one he had avoided for 6 long years. Inside was a single letter, written in Ethan's steady hand just days before his heart gave out. To Jackson. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably carrying the guilt like a second skin. Stop. Life is too short for walls that thick. I've watched you build an empire to prove you're unbreakable, but I know the truth, you have the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. You just buried it the day Mom and Dad died. Don't bury it forever. There's a woman I've met recently, Chloe Reynolds. She's raising twins alone after losing her husband. She's proud, strong, refuses handouts, but she's the kind of person who makes you believe in goodness again. If fate ever crosses your path with hers, don't look away. Help if you can, but more than that, let her help you. Let someone in. You deserve a family, brother. Not the one we lost, but the one waiting for you to choose it. I love you. Always. Ethan. A dried tear stain marks the corner of the page, Ethan's own, perhaps, or Jackson's from tonight. He folds the letter carefully and slips it into his pocket before joining them on the rooftop. Now, as the distant choir's carols drift upward on the night air, Jackson kneels beside the girls. Did you make a Christmas wish? He asks softly. Mia nods solemnly. I wished for Mommy to never be sick again. Lily glances at Chloe, then at Jackson. And I wished for you to stay. The words strike him like gentle lightning. He looks up at Chloe, who meets his gaze with quiet tears glistening in her eyes, not sadness, but something deeper. He stands and takes her hands in his. The city sparkles below them, but the world narrows to just the four of them. I need to tell you something, he says, voice low and steady. Tonight I read the last letter my brother ever wrote. He knew about you, before I ever did. He saw your strength even then, and he asked me to look out for you. I thought that's what I was doing these past months, repaying a debt, honoring him. He pauses, drawing a breath that trembles just slightly. But that's not the truth. I'm not here because of obligation, Chloe. I'm here because every day with you and these girls has pulled me back to life. You've shown me that love isn't a transaction. It's not weakness. It's the only thing that makes any of this worth it. Chloe's fingers tighten around his. Jackson. I love you, he says simply, the words raw and true. Not because you need saving, you never did. But because you make me want to be the man who stands beside you, not in front of you or behind you. I love Mia and Lily like they're my own. I want to build a life with you, all three of you, if you'll have me. Tears slip down Chloe's cheeks now, catching the light like tiny stars. She steps closer, resting her forehead against his. I was so afraid to hope again, she whispers. But you've been hope walking in every time you showed up in the rain, every time you held my girls when I couldn't. I love you too, Jackson. So much. Mia and Lily watch with wide, wondering eyes, sensing the shift in the air. Then, as if on cue, they rush forward, wrapping their small arms around both adults' legs. Jackson lifts them easily, one in each arm, and Chloe joins the embrace. They stand there under the quiet sky, a family forged not by blood, but by choice, by healing, by love that refused to stay buried. Far below, snow begins to fall, soft, silent flakes that melt into the city lights. The rain has finally given way to something new. And on that rooftop, surrounded by warmth and light and the sound of gentle laughter, Jackson Carter finally understands what Ethan tried to tell him all those years ago. Some lights are worth stepping into, no matter how long you've stood in the dark. Months have passed since that Christmas Eve on the rooftop, and spring has finally chased away the long winter. Yet tonight, As if to honor the way their story began, the rain returns, soft and steady, washing the city clean as it taps against the windows of the sleek black SUV. Jackson sits behind the wheel this time, no driver, no barrier between him and the life he has chosen. The clock on the dashboard reads just past 5, the hour when kindergarten lets out. He parks in the familiar spot outside the gates, the same place he has waited every afternoon for the past 4 months, rain or shine, without fail. Inside the schoolyard, Mia and Lily spot the car immediately. Their faces light up as they sprint through the gate, backpacks bouncing, curls damp from the drizzle. They no longer hesitate. They run straight to him. "Daddy Jackson." Lily calls, the name slipping out as naturally as breath now. He steps out into the rain, umbrella in hand, but the girls reach him before he can open it. He scoops them up, one under each arm, laughing as they squeal and kick playfully in the downpour. Chloe follows a few steps behind, walking steadily now, color in her cheeks, strength in her stride that wasn't there a year ago. She carries no umbrella either. She doesn't need one anymore. Jackson sets the twins down and pulls Chloe close, kissing her softly as the rain falls around them, warm and gentle this time. The girls tug at their coats, eager to get home. Home. It's a word that means something entirely new now. Not the cold penthouse where Jackson once lived alone, surrounded by glass and steel. Not the cramped apartment where Chloe once counted every dollar. But a house just outside the city, bright windows, a garden the girls helped plant, a kitchen that always smells of something baking. A place filled with laughter, with photographs on the walls, with the sound of little feet running down hallways. They climb into the car, the twins chattering about their day, paintings they made, a story their teacher read, the frog they found at recess. Jackson listens, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on Chloe's as she sits beside him. The windshield wipers sweep in a slow, soothing rhythm, and the city lights blur into streaks of gold and red. Halfway home, Mia speaks up from the back seat, her voice thoughtful. "Do you remember the train station? When it was really rainy and cold?" Lily nods. "And you were sitting all by yourself." Jackson meets Chloe's eyes for a moment, a quiet smile passing between them. "I remember," he says softly. "We were scared," Mia continues. "But then we asked you for help, and you said yes." Chloe turns in her seat to look at her daughters. And because one kind man listened to 2 little voices that night, everything changed. Jackson pulls the car into their driveway as the rain begins to ease. The porch light glows warm and welcoming. He turns off the engine and looks at the 3 faces that have become his entire world. "I used to think I didn't need anyone," he says, voice low with emotion. "I thought I was better off alone. But you 3, you saved me just as much as I ever helped you." Chloe reaches over, brushing a raindrop from his cheek. "We found each other," she whispers. "That's all that matters." The girls tumble out of the car, racing toward the front door, calling for Coco and pajamas and the new puppy that's waiting inside. Jackson and Chloe follow more slowly, hand in hand, letting the last of the rain fall on their shoulders. As they step over the threshold together, for silhouettes against the golden light, Jackson pauses for just a moment. He looks back at the sky, now clearing to reveal the first stars. Somewhere, he knows, Ethan is smiling. And somewhere, Mark is watching over his girls, at peace knowing they are loved beyond measure. The door closes softly behind them. The rain stops. Inside, there is only warmth, laughter, and the quiet certainty of a family that was lost, then found, in the most unexpected place, on a rainy night, at a forgotten train station, when two brave little girls asked a lonely man for help, and he finally let himself say yes. If this story touched your heart, tell us what part moved you most in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell to support more stories that heal, surprise, and warm the soul.